Okay, hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys a guide on how to make the best brawler build and how I made my build. I can say I have a pretty good understanding of the brawler class with my 40 hours of gameplay in this class. Here are the timestamps. We're going to be going over races, weapons, stats and accessories, mastery, and build in action. Without further ado, let's begin this video. Okay, for races, I would recommend Lentum, Dullahan, and Dragula. Okay, I would say that Lentum has the best synergy with the Brawler class, as at level 30, you get a skill passive called Slimy Shield. When blocking an attack, blind and weakens your attacker. This skill is really good with Brawler, as later in the class tree, which I'll explain later, you get the passive skill called Impact Variance, which means that the Crusher passive now applies to weaken, blinded, and or hex enemies, which is really good. Next, we have the Mucilage, which coats yourself or an ally with a slimy coater ring, which reduces incoming damage, typically to like 1 damage. If you apply this to yourself, you can then reduce damage to 1, which then you can keep your Stallion score up for longer, doing more damage and having higher crit rate. Next, we have Bane. Now, Bane adds more debuffs to the boss or enemy, which then benefits towards the Brawler class. But also in addition, Bane scales really good with the Brawler buffs, apparently. Okay, next we have Dullahan. Now Dullahan can apply Ghost Flames or Light of Skull, which these two moves are really broken and you can really run any build with this, which is why it's number 2 on the list. In other words, these Ghost Flames do a heck ton of damage, and with these Ghost Flames, you can really run any build with this, which is why I put it number 2. But it's number 2 because Lentum has better synergy than Dullahan. Okay, lastly we have Dragula. Now Dragula is only here because of critical lifesteal and bloodless, which means that when you crit, you can heal a little amount of HP, and when you kill an enemy, you gain a small buff for the rest of the turn. That's really mostly it why it's here. Mostly, if you're running Dragula, it's because you don't have Dullahan or Lentum, but this is the only other race I would recommend using if you don't have the other two. Now for equipment, you can either get Core Aluminum Claw, Iceborne Cestus, Dragon Bone Gauntlets, or Dark Blood Cestus. These weapons determine what ancient you get, whether it's Inferno or Frost. Now this determines its synergy as Iceborne Cestus and Frost work together, and Dragon Bone Gauntlets and Inferno work together. Now with the other two weapons, it just determines what you prefer, I guess. But for my case, I went for the Ice style, as I'm pretty sure the Ice enchant's getting a buff, as it's kind of mid right now, and hopefully gets a buff next update from what I've heard. It's honestly not a bad enchant though, as in this clip you can see that I only did like 390 damage when the boss had like 420ish, and it went to 0.18% HP because the Ice enchant did proc. Now imagine using that with Party Table, and that procs every time, and you can be doing some additional damage which can add up to a lot of damage. Okay, for stats, you're going to want to go all strength like any other DPS build. And for your equipment, you want either a B0 Dragon or B0 Blight for your ring, with Aaron and Necklace either being a B2 Blitz and B2 Pinpoint, with your artifact as a Stellion's Core. Okay, my physical damage is at around 440%, with my crit damage at 1.8x, and my crit rate at 40%. If my stats are higher than yours and you have the exact same equipment, it might be because my soul tree is nearly maxed out, only missing the stuff that doesn't affect my stats. Okay, for your class mastery, you're going to want to talk to your trainer, and when you're talking to your trainer, you can then access your class tree. Keep in mind for your class tree, you can only have a maximum of 34 mastery points, and I'd only recommend using 3 breakthrough points, which you can acquire by using the Echo Shard, which is achievable by getting a drop from Metron Vessel, or getting lucky from presents, or by trading someone from the trading channel in Discord. Okay, the first passive I recommend getting is Impact Variance, as like I said earlier, it's the Crusher passive now applies to weakened, blinded, or hex enemies, which now the Crusher passive allows you to do more damage against vulnerable enemies, but not just vulnerable enemies. With the passive, you can now do more damage against the blinded, weakened, or the hex enemies. Okay, next we have Oppression. Now Oppression is basically where it passively deals 5% more damage per status effect on the target, which means more status effects equals more damage. Okay, now we have burst combo proficiency. Now what this does is that if the enemy is vulnerable and you use this move, it now applies 2 Sunder. Now this move is really good because it does increase your whole party's damage and your own damage. And you can see here, my Bane just did kill and did about 300 damage. Okay, you also may be asking why didn't I get Crushing Strike proficiency over the burst combo, and that's because Crushing Strike does 20% more damage and applies some debuffs, while the burst combo proficiency implies 2 Sundered, which benefits the whole party, rather than just the Crushing Strike applying 20% more damage and some debuffs. Okay, we're also not going to talk about the luck lane. That lane literally sucks, applies no benefits to you or the party, and it's just really bad in general. But in general, go for the full speed path and the middle strength path.